All right. Hey, this is Mark coming to you from Baker's Green Acres. It's the 29th, and I'm just out mowing a little bit of lawn. It's starting to rain, so I thought I'd take a break because I've been thinking about something. The subject that I'd like to talk about is value adding. Value adding. And I think it's important that people get a handle on what value adding is. So, a good example of that would be let's say somebody has raised a chicken. They got a baby chick and then they nurtured it and they raised it with love. They gave it food. And in order to get it to the plate, to get it into the kitchen, they have to have it butchered, all right? And that butchering adds value to it. So even if you have a full-grown chicken, to a lot of people, a full-grown chicken is kind of worthless because they don't know what to do with it. It's just like if you live in New York City and you get a full-grown cow deposited on you. Well, what do you do with it? It's almost worthless to you because you have to feed it. You have to find a place for it to live. If you could only get it processed and turned into steaks, then it's worth something to you. So that's a good example of value adding. And one of the things that we do here is we run a small butcher shop, and we service probably, I think, about 200 families in a radius around us. Some of them come from pretty far because those services do not exist. So people will raise 50 or so chickens for themselves, and that'll be enough chicken for them for the year, chicken a week, that's all we ask, right? And they'll bring them to us, and we charge them X amount to, process that chicken and get it in a bag. Sometimes we vac seal them, and we try to treat the animals with respect, but they do have to be killed, and that's what we do. A lot of people don't want to do that, so we figured about 200 families, and oddly enough, one of the families is this inspector kid that's coming around here. He didn't come around this year with his chickens, so I don't know what he's going to do. Maybe they didn't raise any. But along the lines of value adding, that is a core principle of agriculture. I mean, if I can raise a hay field like this, that's great. If I can cut it, that's even better. If I can put it in bales, that's even better. If I can put it in the barn and keep it out of the rain, that's even better. I'm adding value every step of the way. So I would have to question this campaign against our farm from the state of Michigan and their little minions at DNR and Department of Ag. I'd have to question that. I mean, aren't we doing the thing that is supposed to be revered by the Department of Agriculture? Aren't we making it so people can raise chickens in their yard, which is their right, and then they can put those in their freezer so they can eat wholesome chicken meat? Same thing with the pigs that we grow. Isn't that a good thing? Don't we want nutritional meats going out to the public to eat? Don't we want a healthy society? I would think we do. I mean, me as a farmer, that's what I am about. I'm about taking care of the land, showing respect to the animals, taking care of them, and then providing my customers with a healthy food source, protein source, whether it's pork, beef, chicken, milk. But the Department of Ag is not really seeming to be about that. And here's an example. I had a woman show up here today. She's been a longtime customer of ours, about 5 years. She was told in March of this year that we would not be receiving a license. And she didn't know that there was some sort of plan on the the part of the Department of Agriculture. But back in March, they were planning to not issue us our license to operate our butcher shop, which services the community and enables people to grow chickens and then put chicken in their freezer. Probably, like I said, about 200 families, and that's economically that's a big part of what we do to feed our family. That's our process. That is what we do to make income. And so as far back as March of this year, the Department of Ag was already planning not to give us our license. And then you remember, 6 weeks ago, they sent us a letter saying we hadn't paid for it. And then, of course, it was, oh, you'd paid for it, but you hadn't complied with some inspection. That was all baloney, too. It was a search warrant that some food inspector had issued back in 2014 over an image. I don't even want to say picture anymore. It was an image of a ham that they believed we had made here. And they never bothered to call me on the phone and ask me. But anyway, this woman shows up here, longtime customer of ours. She raises chickens, she raises rabbits, turkeys, geese, ducks. I've told you about her before. She also works nights over here cleaning in a store that we do a lot of business with. And she would bring those animals and poultry to us, and we would process them. And then she took those to farmers market and sold them, and she fed her children with the proceeds from that. So she's doing it to make a living. None of this is hobby for us. I know that I refer to the Department of Agriculture as a bunch of amateurs, and I hold with that because I don't think they're really professionals at what they're doing. They do get paid, but I don't believe that they're professionals. I believe they're amateurs. Because what happened today was she was told that she was to report here at 9 o'clock this morning because they wanted to run her through an inspection on my property. This was news to her, but like a good citizen, she complied and she showed up here 9 o'clock. And about 9:05, she came and knocked on the door and said, well, I'm here for my inspection. And I don't know what you're talking about. And she said, oh, well, so-and-so told me I was supposed to be here at 9 o'clock. And it was some of the same players that we told you about yesterday. And I showed their phone numbers. I'm not going to go into it. So it made me think, her and I was standing in the driveway. Of course, they didn't show. They no-showed her. She drove a half an hour or 45 minutes to get here. And they didn't show up. And so it burned her day. And her time in her day is very important because she's either got to be sleeping or generating some sort of income or, taking care of her house. But they blew her off anyway. And sure enough, we stood in the kitchen of my house and got on the phone and called Terry Findlebeck. I don't remember his name. He's not answering the phone, but we used her phone, so he's not answering her phone anyway. So I feel better. My feelings feel better because I know he's not answering just my phone calls. He's not answering anybody's phone calls, it seems like. So she left a message on his phone, and then she had to go and get to work. But as I've been thinking about this, I'm thinking the Department of Agriculture has a huge budget. So even this guy, Terry, and the other two that I mentioned yesterday, they're getting paid a lot of money. Between the two of them, I would say it's a couple $100,000 in wages, that they're getting paid. My question is, what value are they adding to agriculture here in the state of Michigan when it comes to the people that they are taking the money from to give to these people? What value are they getting out of it? And if you all could bring me up to speed on that in the comments section. I'd really be glad to hear that, but it sets off a train of thought about the Department of Agriculture and the millions of dollars that they use. What if we just did away with the Department of Agriculture and all that money that they would be getting, we divided that up amongst the citizens that it's been taken away from? I mean, it's just a thought, and I know it's a little out there, but it's nice if everybody would think about it, because I think their budget is, it's like 50 million or 75 million. I don't know, if we divide that up amongst the residents of the state of Michigan, everybody get a nice chunk, and it would really enhance my operation. I could build some new fences and get some equipment fixed and things like that. Not have my day taken up by no-showing inspectors and others who will not answer their phone. So anyway, the end of the story is this gal, customer of ours, because they won't give her license, she can't go to farmers market with her product, and so they have effectively shut her off. And I believe what they're doing is they're just, more of what they do is they destroy relationships. They've destroyed relationships that I've had with restaurants and retail stores. That's like one of their main things to do. So anyway, I am just bringing this to your attention. I know it's negative, but it's got to be said. Let me get back to my mowing.